Our big thing is our job is not to put you in a box of what we offer. We need to build our box around what it is you actually need to move the needle in your business.
Welcome back to another episode of the Revenue Reimagined podcast. We are so excited to have with us today Alexis Scott, who is the co-founder and CEO of both Verbatim and Influenced by Verbatim. I met Alexis years ago. Alexa, stop. Your name doesn't like her.
It happens all the time.
Years ago when she was at Aspireship, which is a whole other thing that I think is doing awesome work. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that. But we want to talk about Verbatim. We want to talk about your journey. We want to talk about what it's like being a founder and starting from scratch. So we're so excited to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us. And we'll try to keep that thing behind me quiet today.
Yeah, it happens often. So just prepare yourself.
Thanks for joining us, Alexis. We really appreciate it. So this is an interesting podcast for us because we're blending kind of like the founder and kind of marketing leader, revenue leader. You've been a little bit of sales, marketing. So I think the first question I'm going to ask, and I don't know if you know this, like, which side did you like better, marketing or sales? Like what side, like, I know you're in the marketing space now a little bit more, but curious your thoughts around that.
Well, it's really funny. So my background is primarily sales. And in every discovery call that we have, Brianna and I do brief introductions. And I'm always like, my career is largely sales. And I'm very upfront about that fact. Most recently worked in marketing. And I preface it like that simply because sales and marketing are largely married, number one. But number two, I don't have decades of experience in marketing. And I don't want people to think that I do. But what I do bring is a modern take on marketing, and I have variety of industries and experiences surrounding that. As for which I like better, I like to think of myself as a brand evangelist, which is a combination of both.
I like that. So let's double click a little bit in the brand evangelist. Like, is it more marketing, more sales? Where do you stand?
That's a great question. And I love that you called me out on that. I do think it is a little bit more marketing, right? It's that brand awareness. And I always think of it as making noise. What noise can I make today? Whether it be about myself, whether it be about my company, whether it be about a client, how can I get people's attention? And then based on that attention, the question becomes, what is the call to action? What am I trying to drive with that behavior? So I'm a marketer in that sense. But I also love closing deals. So I love sales too.
I love that.
It's always funny when you have great salespeople who love marketing and great marketers who love sales. And I do think they truly go hand in hand. And when you look at the companies that do it the best, it is the sales leaders that dabble in marketing and the marketing leaders that dabble in sales. But I don't want to make today all about marketing and sales. What I really want to focus on is kind of that journey that started Verbatim and then Influenced by Verbatim. I've known you for a while, since the Aspireship days and the things in between. And like, I was not shocked to see you found a company and really build something. But talk to us a little bit about the origin story and like where Verbatim and Influenced by Verbatim started. I know you have an awesome co-founder. I have a co-founder. No, I'm kidding. I have an awesome co-founder as well. But tell us a little bit about that origin story. Like where did it start from? When did you wake up and be like, shit, this is something we got to do?
I didn't actually. And I'll get to that, but I didn't.
All right.
I never like this. I'll get to it. I don't want to ruin my story, but basically Brianna and I met, I want to say it was end of 2022. We were part of a creator group. Someone was actually building or attempting to build a creator program for a well-known tech company. It didn't end up happening, but what ended up happening was this great group of friends. So he had kind of pulled us all into a chat and we all became friends with each other. And Brianna and I met, we ended up meeting early 2023. I had traveled to Arizona. That's where she lives. We met for lunch and it was just, amazing. So we became friends. Now in February, I really started planning the Fairy Job Mom, which is a consultancy essentially at this point, where I help job seekers land new roles, market themselves, etc. Brianna helped build my website. and she helped me think about the kind of marketing aspects of the Fairy Job Mom. So that was kind of our first experience working together, like truly working together. And it went amazing. You know, she's so talented. The site was gorgeous. She's just amazing. I ended up getting fired for starting the Fairy Job Mom. So that was my exit from corporate America, unintentionally, but I knew the risk I was taking. I was not naive to the fact that the founder of the company I was working for probably wouldn't like me being vocal about starting the Fairy Job Mom, even though it was not in conflict, it was not during work hours, you know, all the things. So immediately I was thrust into, I got to grow the Fairy Job Mom, even though that was not its intention. I mean, it was really intended to be kind of hourly coaching whenever people needed help with job search strategy, resume optimization, LinkedIn optimization, what have you. So I ended up coming up with the idea for a program called Eternally Employable. All was well, except for I didn't quite understand my client base at the time. I was thinking, Adam, as you mentioned, I was coming from Aspireship. So I was thinking early career transitioners, people who weren't necessarily as familiar with the job search process. And what I found was that the vast majority of my clients were mid to senior level. And they kind of knew the basics of job seeking. What they really needed was that refinement and understanding how to market themselves into their next role. So not a lot of product market fit there. Fast forward to summertime, fast forward to fall. And Brianna came to me one day and she said, I want to start a marketing agency and I want to do it with you. And I was like, I had a moment where I just...
Well, that's the biggest compliment in the world.
Right. And not just that, but I like, you know, you do one of those like, are you talking to me? But I also was curious. I said, you mean like freelancing for you? Or like, what do you mean? And she said, no, I want you to be my partner. And I was like, oh, are you sure? Like me? And she's like, yes, I'm very sure. And I said, oh, you know, we talked through a little bit. And I said, I need to think about this. Not because I don't love her and not because I don't think we would be successful, but because I haven't ever had that dream. Like I didn't wake up as a little girl and say, I want to own a marketing agency someday. Yeah. If you would have asked me this time last year, I wouldn't have had that dream.
I'm with you.
So I also had to consider, what about the Fairy Job Mom? The Fairy Job Mom was my brand that I had been building for years, literally, and had finally come to fruition, and it was growing and I was being invited on things. And so I had to kind of figure out and or come to terms with the fact, would this still be a part of my identity? Could I keep that if I'm going all in on Verbatim, unnamed at the time, right? If I was going to go all in on a marketing agency. And I would never want to say yes if I was not 100% committed. So I did some soul searching, asked a few trusted mentors, like kind of their thoughts on it and what they thought I should do, talked to my husband about it. And ultimately what I decided was, if there was ever anyone that I would want to start a marketing agency with, this was the person. Like, she is incredibly talented and brilliant. She is driven. She is my friend, who's someone who I trust. So like, I felt like it was kind of divine intervention of like, this is what's next for you. Be in your season of yes and go all in. And so I did. So the Fairy Job Mom is very scaled back. I take people on an hourly basis. I don't have a program. And 99% of what I do is around Verbatim and influenced by Verbatim. And it has become my new dream of growing this and making it really successful.
That's love amazing. It. And I know Dale wants to talk, but what you said real quick resonates with me so much because, and Dale knows this, I didn't plan on running a company, an agency or anything. I was working full time, and I won't bore you with the Dale and I story, but like, it was Dale who said to me, like, just go out on your own. I was like, the fuck do you mean go out on my own? Like, I have a family to provide for.
Yeah.
And this was before we even talked about partnering, but like, similar to what you're saying, like, no. But I love seeing the passion that you and Brianna have. Sorry, Dale, had to get that in. I don't want to throw you off your flow, but
I love the story. This is a new flow for us anyway. I'm curious because so many people are going down this route, Alexis. Like, not only just for like marketing agency type stuff, but even in our space, like fractional CRO,
Yeah.
rev ops, what did you guys feel like would differentiate you guys from everything else that's happening in the market where you're like, we can really carve our niche here and make a difference?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first is kind of like the physically obvious. We are two women of color in a very not that saturated market. So we do bring a very unique perspective, given our backgrounds and given our own personal experiences in the workplace and in marketing as it stands, in sales for me. And so I do think we bring a unique perspective to messaging and positioning in the market and what have you. The other piece is something that we discovered within the first month of doing business that really differentiated kind of where we wanted to land in the market. When we started talking about who we wanted to serve, it's kind of one of those things like, do we niche down? Do we not niche down? And, who do we want to work with and what have you? And what ended up being kind of a sticking point for us of what we noticed of who was really drawn to us and who, like, all of our leads have been inbound, knock on all the wood to date. But the people who tend to be really drawn to us for Verbatim in particular are people who are working in mission-driven companies. So their purpose is beyond just making money. It's about helping society in some way. And they're all different. I mean, like very, very different ways. But every time we would meet with someone who was doing something for like kind of like the greater good, we got really excited. It's easy, right? It's easy to be excited when someone is passionate about helping others and then recognizing like the corporate work that you do is not just about the money, right? Like, yes, we want everyone to make money. That's why you market. That's why we market, right? We make money. But when you can tie that revenue to a purpose, it becomes more meaningful.
And it creates a great origin story, right? I mean, the market, to help people market that, I think, and we talk about this a lot, and that's why Adam asked the first question on origin story. It's like, I think a lot of people like gloss over that part of it. And it's great when they have a mission. Now you can like tie that into the overall messaging, value proposition, et cetera.
Yeah. Now that's for Verbatim. And this is what's a little bit interesting in our business model. So everything is technically under the Verbatim umbrella, but because we are so excited about LinkedIn influencer marketing, we created kind of a sub brand, if you will. So like Verbatim is the umbrella. We do growth marketing, content strategy, all things LinkedIn, personal branding, but we have kind of that sub category of Influenced by Verbatim. And it is actually a different ICP for us. Like what we're finding is that the companies that we're working with are a little bit larger. They do tend to be kind of in tech and more revenue focused, which of course you want to make money with influencer marketing. That's why you're doing it. So that has been an interesting juxtaposition for us in, again, the messaging, the language that we're using, who we're serving, and in finding that balance in what we talk about, how we talk about it, and who we want to work with.
So I think that's interesting, right? You're working with two very different ICPs, and we talk about ICPs a lot with our clients, right? Like you'd be amazed at how many like Series B startups we get involved with that our very first question, one of our very first questions on the discovery call is, so Alexis, talk to me about your ICP. And it's a 30-minute dissertation that is not an ICP. How do you context switch? Like with those very different ICPs, how did you narrow down on what the ICP is? And then how do you handle the context switching between the two?
Well, we know going into that call kind of what their interest is, right? So like if it is an Influenced by Verbatim call, that call structure is actually different per se than a Verbatim call. A Verbatim call, we do custom proposals for everyone right now. And don't yell at me. I know that's quote unquote not scalable, what have you, but that's how we do it. Like our big thing is our job is not to put you in a box of what we offer. We need to build our box around what it is you actually need to move the needle in your business. So we're very aligned on that, Brianna and I, that we are going to custom build for these people. For Influenced by Verbatim, it is a lot more structured in the sense that in general, an influencer marketing campaign or activation, as we call it, runs pretty similarly for any company, right? Like the process is the same. What we're offering is pretty similar. We obviously have a couple of different packages as far as the extent at which we're providing our services. We also have a program build, but in general, it doesn't matter if you're a small startup or if you are an enterprise company. We're going to come in, we're going to source influencers, we're going to manage communications. We're going to do kind of the same process for everyone that comes through, with the caveat that we're not obviously going to propose the same influencers because their goals are different. So that's a different sales cycle than it is for Verbatim. And so we're very cognizant of that. And, I feel like I had kind of lost my sales juju for a while. And then jumping into this.
So many comments I want to throw out there.
Right? Yeah. Just like having to kind of figure that out, right?
Yeah.
Like we're starting this and our first sales calls were horrible. Like I remember one we got off of and Brandon's like, how do you feel like that went? I was like, we need to practice. Like we really need to practice. And we have, we've refined and obviously as time goes by, you start to find your rhythm and your flow and the talk track and all of that. So I feel a lot stronger there, but it was a learning process for sure.
Ever feel like keeping your CRM updated with call notes is a nightmare? You're not alone. Most sales leaders would rate their CRM hygiene a 4 out of 10. Badly maintained CRMs lead to inaccurate data, missed opportunities, and a messy sales pipeline. Not ideal, right? Introducing Attention, your sales rep's personal Ironman suit. It transforms CRM upkeep, automating it with AI, and freeing your reps to sell, not enter data. Attention fills your CRM with a single click, drafts custom follow-ups, and gives real-time assistance. Isn't it time your CRM worked for you? Ready to upgrade your sales? Visit www.attention.tech.
And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if you're executing. I mean, you do have to get the sales in the door, but once you get inbound and people are talking about and giving you internal referrals, like you do have to refine it. And I think it's also hard when you have co-founders, right? So you don't know how to play off complete strengths. Like this dude always wants to talk and it's like completely crazy. I'm like, oh my God. I hear his voice all the time.
Dale goes to sleep and hears my voice.
That's the last thing I want to hear. Trust me. Alexis, as you evolve, how do you think your leadership's going to evolve? Like from kind of managing a team to actually like managing a company? Like the leadership style must be completely different as you start thinking about how, like we were just talking before we got on the hours that you're working and like, as you're switching, people are going, like your co-founder goes on vacation. How do you think your leadership style is going to evolve?
So I was very clear with Brianna when we started planning this business. Eventually, and please know that I am very well aware that when it is a 2-person company, you're doing all of the things, right? Like you are the execution, the planning, the everything. So I am not unaware of that, nor am I kidding myself. But
Adam's my EA, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Right. Works out perfect.
My goal in the future is to be running a company. So my goal is to be the strategic visionary, making the pieces move more so than the executor. And some of the stuff I literally don't have experience in. And that's where Brianna's amazing, set of experience does come in because she's done this all before. So she can come in, she knows what good looks like. For some of these things, I'm still learning. What I do know is more business acumen things as far as like I handle all of our contracting. I handle our billing. Like I handle the pieces of the business that come more naturally to me. And she really is more of like the project manager, the process, the execution, keeping me on track because Lord knows I need it. And
sounds like you and Dale are it sounds like you and I are very similar and Brianna and Dale are very similar. And I don't mean that
but you need that
in a bad way, but like
balance.
Dale will tell you he has no desire to look at a contract. He doesn't want to set up a Monday board. He doesn't want to build He doesn't want to build process. He loves executing and, working with the clients. And don't get me wrong, so do I, but someone has to, and I mean no disrespect when I say this, someone has to run the business in parallel to running the business. So It's great that you found that balance because when you have 2 people who want to do it, then it becomes a clash, right? It's very easy when it's like, dude, I don't want to do this. Just get it done and tell me where to be and what to do as my EA.
Yeah, I love it. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And I think we learned that pretty early on I falsely believed that we were very, very similar. I now understand that while we like a lot of the same things outside of work, when it comes to the work that we do, we are actually very, very different. And then bringing that together is the best of both worlds. And so really leaning on both of our skill sets to create that really complete, well-rounded package of a business. It's been the greatest blessing, honestly, that we didn't even expect.
Yeah. I love that. Dale, would you say we're similar or different?
It depends. I think in the business we're different because I think we both bring like certain things. Like I don't mind looking at contracts. I just don't want to do it. Like there's and I think you really need that divide because one of the things I think we got tricked in as we were going through this is we would be doing the same things at the same time. And so you really have to get to a place, especially as you grow the business, to divide your responsibilities and time out or you're doing the same thing at the same time. And it's not a good efficient use of time. Like sometimes we'll get on the same sales calls. Sometimes we won't. Like, and as you were saying earlier, when you're on vacation, like if your co-founder's on vacation, now you have the opportunity to still backfill. Like if you're on your own, like when I was working on my own, it would be really difficult to take any time because it's like the customer is always like, hey, we paid you for a retainer of X on a month and like we want a month full of stuff. And they don't realize like you're working on the weekends, you're working after hours. Like they don't understand all the time you actually put into getting them up and running.
Well, I think it's really interesting to, from a cultural perspective on taking time off and work-life balance and what have you. When you work for an organization, number one, there's more than one person to step in and fill in, and the customer, generally speaking, can wait. I mean, there's nothing like truly pressing. And if there is, there's someone who can do that for them. So you're like, okay, peace out. I will see you in a week. Everyone hold down the fort. I have worked at orgs where I've checked my email or I've, answered Slacks or whatever because I wanted to, not because I necessarily was forced to.
Yep.
And I know from knowing Brianna that she has very clear boundaries around like separation of church and state, right? So, but in more of a corporate setting. Now we are business owners and we are founders together. So what I found was I was hesitating to message her because I'm like, oh my God, I know she's on vacation. Like, I don't want to bother her. Like they can wait. But then I was like, well, wait, can they wait? Or there would be a decision. And ordinarily, if she was in the office, it would be a decision that we were conferring on together. It was a joint decision of how we would like to move forward with the situation. So then I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. I know she's going to want to know what's going on. Like, do I message her? And she was wonderful. I mean, every time I'd be like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, no, like we're in this together. Please message me. Like, don't feel bad. It's fine. Not a big deal. But that's something I think in me where I have to kind of reconcile that when it is my own company, I might not get a clear cut of vacation.
Yep.
I might get 6 hours of not having to answer a question or not seeing an email come through, but I'm probably not going to get a large chunk of time where I can fully be disconnected until we have a team and this is a larger company and all of that. So that was an interesting learning for me last week.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So I was on vacation last week as well. And
he just took up and left.
Dale actually does a really good job of telling me like, stop checking email, like go spend time with your family. Because I do have that mindset of like, I'm a business owner, right? And like the thought of not checking my email all day, like, and most of our emails, like we're copied on, but like, what if a prospect emails back? What if, a client needs something, it's tough, but finding that balance is important. I think what you said is really true. Like you could take a day off, you could get 6 hours off, but as a new founder, whether you're founding the next unicorn or whether you're, building a consulting business or a marketing company, like there are no complete days off, but having that trust that your partner has your back and is going to run it while you're gone and not running into the ground is a great feeling. I want to talk setbacks for a second because it's not rainbows and unicorns, right? You guys have been fortunate to get some pretty good brand recognition off the bat. We haven't talked revenue, but I'll assume you're doing well, that the brand is doing good. We've been very blessed in the same sense, but it hasn't come easy. There's been moments where I think we've wanted to strangle each other. There's been moments where we've wanted to strangle clients. There's been moments where we've wanted to strangle prospects, most of which was our fault because we weren't setting things up right for them, and we would be frustrated. It's like, wait a minute, if we would have, framed this a little better, we wouldn't be in this situation. Talk to me about, some of the early setbacks that have really guided how you're driving the business now, where you look back and you're like, man, that was horrible. And like, we really learned a lesson that's a guiding principle right now.
Well, we haven't been in business that terribly long. So we're going on month 3 right now. So, keep that in mind. I think a big, gigantic component of how we operate now is us learning to communicate with each other. In the early days, there were some tears. I think there was some frustration. And it really took us both being open to feedback and open with how we were feeling, which is hard when you are learning to work with someone, which was a reality. We had never worked. I mean, aside from her building my website for the Fairy Job Mom, we had not worked together. And so just learning the things about each other that we now just kind of accept. And it's like, okay, great. You're going to do this. I'm going to do that. Or communication styles, or just ways in which we phrase things, or, maybe I'm not going to address this right now because I know this person wants to process, like that kind of stuff is really important. And it's important in our success as a company. And especially as we grow and actually have people to manage in the future, like that will all play a part in it. So I think that's one piece. From an actual like business perspective, I think we've revamped our website twice now, and we've been in business for 3 months.
We did the same thing. You're not unique.
Yeah. And thank the Lord that Brianna is like one of the most talented web designers that I know. So she can just go in and do it. But narrowing down our messaging, like that kind of aha moment of the mission-driven piece was huge for us. Refining things. And then both of us being willing to pivot has been a big piece of it. Like, I think I'm a little bit more loosey-goosey. Like I tend to be like, yeah, sure, whatever, let's do it. And she really is very thoughtful and plans and, wants to see a path. And so that has been interesting and challenging as well. And like from a mistake perspective, I think for me, I see like kind of my biggest miss was at the beginning, not brushing up on my sales skills. Like like I think back at those calls, and again, I just cringe because I'm like, we'd have calls with people for 30, 45 minutes with no purpose. It was just like, they're telling us all about what they're working on. And at the end, we're slacking each other like, okay, now what? And so overcoming that and understanding like that wasn't going to work for us was a massive win. And learning for sure.
Sweet. Awesome. I mean, it's always good to learn. We've done our website 100 times as well. And Adam is like very type A when it gets to everything done. So I'm very much more like, we'll see how it goes. Yeah. Awesome. So one of the things we believe in Revenue Reimagined is giving more than we receive. And you've been graceful to provide something to the audience, Alexis. Tell us what it is.
Yeah. So recently, Brianna and I published our LinkedIn playbook for founders. So it is all about how to meet your audience, investors, and buyers where they are, which is on LinkedIn. So we give you some templates, some skills, some tricks, tips, all the things on how to get started on building your brand on LinkedIn. And I'm really proud of it. It's our first ever playbook for Verbatim.
Awesome.
So it's very exciting.
Sweet.
We're excited to be able to share that with someone. We will figure out what we're going to do to select someone to be the lucky winner of that, and we will put them directly in touch with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. As we wrap it up here, I would love to dive into some rapid fire questions.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Nothing crazy, I promise. If you weren't in sales or marketing, what profession would you be in?
I mean, it's kind of connected, but probably PR.
No, that counts as marketing. I'm not going to let you count that on.
I honestly, I don't know. Like, I can't imagine my life doing something else. That sounds weird, but
thrift shopping.
Yes.
Like influencer thrift shopping.
No, okay, I thought about that. I literally have thought about that. Like someone really wanted me to do like a consulting business for women where for moms specifically in their 40s who are trying to kind of get back to who they were and find their style and figure out what they want. And I have a TikTok, or I mean, an Instagram for it. It's called the Sustainably Styled Mama. Obviously it lives in nowhere land, but I'm like obsessed with thrift shopping. So yes, anything
Nice.
thrifting would win.
There you go. What's the first app you check when you wake up?
LinkedIn.
That was an easy one.
Alexis, where should companies start first, sales or marketing?
Sales.
I like it.
What's your go-to productivity hack?
I don't. If you know of a good one, let me know. I don't have one.
Awesome.
What's the most unusual item on your desk right now?
Aquaphor? I don't know.
All right.
No, wait, hold on. This pin. Okay, so this pin was on a random item my son purchased at the thrift store, and somehow it is on my desk, and I don't know why.
That's awesome.
I like it.
That's awesome. So last one, what's a dream vacation destination for you?
Australia, hands down. I will get to that damn continent. I promise.
I mean, if anyone's listening that owns a company that resides in Australia, P.S. We have a client. We have a client that is based in Australia. Just saying.
I mean, if they want me to make some content for them,
Alexis is happy to do some barter for a trip to Australia for her and the fam.
Love that.
Alexis, it has been a pleasure. I have been looking forward to this for weeks since it's been on the calendar. So much value dropped. Thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you, Brianna, Verbatim, influenced by Verbatim? Alexa, please stop your show.
Yes. If someone is interested in speaking to me, I would recommend finding me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure I pop up if you put in Alexis Scott as the first Alexis Scott. So you'll find me there. Our website is weareverbatim.com. There's also a website for influencebyverbatim.com. You can go to either of those. Brianna is also gigantic on LinkedIn. You can find her there too. Brianna Doe, D-O-E. But yeah, would love to connect with anyone who is interested in learning more about what we offer.
Awesome. Alexis, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.